Hey everyone, Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and in this video we're taking a look at the Barricade HD plate style full width front bumper fitting 2021 and newer Broncos, excluding the Raptor. If you want your Bronco to look cool and work hard, then this bumper from the folks over at Barricade is just up your alley. This is meant to enhance your Bronco style and its off-road prowess. It's a full width front bumper that offers plenty of style, function, and flexibility in one easy and affordable package. Now this again is a full width front bumper, and it's certainly going to add some additional capability to your rig. Now even as compared to the factory modular bumper, this one is going to offer you more clearance. On the sides here, it cuts up much tighter to the body of the Bronco, and the shorter overall height gives you a better approach angle than stock as well. Now it's overall a pretty rugged look, it's pretty beefy, and it gives the Bronco a bit more of an aggressive appearance than the factory setup too. Now adding to that is the large overrider hoop up top. Now, it may not be the largest one we've seen out there on the market, but it too blends protection and style. And this is going to help protect your grille from any larger obstacles or debris that you might encounter out there. Now, lower down on the bumper, you're also going to find a few other areas to mount additional lighting. You've got some spaces on either side here for some cube lighting, and you've got a slot in the center here for an LED light bar. Now, these do have grates that you can put in if you don't want to run extra lights, so you've got plenty of flexibility there as well. Now there is a version of this bumper that is sold with lights included if you don't already have a set, or if you just want to grab everything in one shot. So if that's more your speed, you can check that out on our site as well. But this setup is going to give you all of the same benefits, and it saves you a few dollars on the initial purchase. Now, just to the inside of those cutouts, you're going to find some shackles to help you get out of sticky situations. This kit also includes a license plate bracket for those of you who live in states where you have to run a front plate. And perhaps most importantly, this also includes provisions for your front parking sensors. If your Bronco came so equipped with front parking sensors from the factory, you can just pop them out and put them right here in the pre-drilled slots. So that keeps the full functionality of your Bronco intact, but you get the good looks, the additional capability, and the extra protection built in. Now this is designed to be a bolt-on installation too, so you don't need to modify your rig to get it fitted either. Now one thing that is worth noting here is that this bumper does not include a winch mount. That is going to save you again a bit of money on your initial purchase price, and if you're not doing heavy-duty off-roading stuff that might require a winch, you're going to be more than set with this particular bumper. However, there is a version of this bumper that does include a winch mount if you decide you want to go that route, so you can check that out on our site as well if that's going to fit your needs a little bit better. Now this thing is called heavy duty with good reason. It's constructed out of 3mm thick steel, so it's heavy, but it's also tough. Over top of that steel, you get a two-stage finish as well. It starts with an epoxy pre-coating and it's topped off with this textured black powder coat that you see. Now that means it's going to stand up well to the elements and provide you solid protection against bumps and bruises in daily life and out on the trail. Plus it's going to keep everything looking good, and it's going to be very well integrated too with any type of look that you might be going for. Now this also pairs very well with any of the different HD rear bumpers that Barricade offers, so if you're after a matched set front and rear, we've got you covered there as well. Pricing comes in at about $900, and that makes it one of the more affordable full-width front bumpers in the segment. And like we were discussing a few moments ago, you are going to save a bit of money up front since this doesn't include additional lighting or the winch mount. Overall, it's a really solid piece for a solid deal. And if you're after more aggressive looks and more capability for your rig, you really can't go wrong with this one. Installation is going to get a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you about 2 hours to complete. Now, like we discussed earlier, the bumper itself is just going to bolt right on. Your parking sensors are going to pop right in. I do recommend that you have a friend on hand to help you out with this though, as even though this isn't the biggest bumper we've seen through the door here, this has got a lot of heft to it, and it can be tricky to get these into place at first, especially when you're just starting those bolts underneath. So I definitely recommend having a friend on hand, but otherwise this is just going to bolt right on. With that, let's head out to the shop and we'll walk you through that installation process.
For this install, you will need an impact, various ratchets, an extension, T40 Torx bit, 10, 13, 15, 16, and 18 millimeter sockets, the provided Allen wrenches, 13 and 16 millimeter wrenches, clip removal tool, and also not shown here is an extra set of hands.
What's up guys, today we're going to be doing a bumper on our Bronco, so let's get started. So we've got our Bronco up in the air just to kind of give you a better look at what's going on. It is not necessary for this install. You can do it in your driveway, at home, on the ground, but just for demonstration purposes to give you a better view, we're going to go ahead and do it up here. So what we're going to do first is grab our clip removal tool, and we're going to remove these front covers here around our tow hook so we can access our mounting bolts. those out. Go ahead and pop our covers off. So now we'll go ahead and remove our other cover. So our next step is going to be to unplug our parking sensor harness. That is, if you have parking sensors. If you don't need to unplug anything. Go ahead and reach up through here, push down on the release tab for our connector. Go ahead and pop that off. Make sure that's out here and out of the way. Now we're going to go ahead and remove our 3 bolts here on each side for our tow hooks. We're going to grab our 15mm socket on our impact to do so. Now you're going to want to leave one loosely installed on each side just to keep the bumper from falling or doing anything like that. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the last bolts and support our bumper and go ahead and pull it off. So we'll go ahead and grab our tow hooks, pop our bumper off. So we're going to have to disassemble our factory bumper a bit to get our parking sensor harness out so we can transfer it over to our new bumper. So what we're going to need to do is remove the 3 T40 Torx bolts and 4 13mm bolts on each side bracket so we can get those out of the way. And then we're going to need to remove the 6 Torx screws on the center bracket here as well so we can get that out of the way. So we'll go ahead and grab our T40 Torx bit and our 13mm socket on our impact and go ahead and get all our hardware off. Then we can access our parking sensor harness. So now we'll go ahead and remove our 4 main bracket bolts here with our 13mm socket on our impact. Now we'll go ahead and remove our main bracket here. We've got just a couple more bolts, Torx screws here on the bottom to remove this other bracket. So we'll grab our T40 Torx bit again, go ahead and remove these 3 along the bottom of the top side of our bumper. Once we have those out, out comes our secondary bracket. So then once we have this side out, we can go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll move on to our center inner bracket. Next, we'll go ahead and remove these 3 T40 Torx screws out here, and then we have 2 on the back side supporting our center bracket. So again, we'll grab our T40 Torx bit and go ahead and remove all these. So now we have all of our hardware out for our center bracket, and what we're going to need to do is remove these 2 connectors here, which are held on by clips. So we'll grab our clip removal tool, pop those out, and remove our center bracket. Now we can access our parking sensors and go ahead and remove that whole harness. So what we're going to do is come down here to our sensors, and they're held in by 2 vertical retainers. So we're just going to spread those apart and pop our sensors out, just like so. And we'll do that for the other 3 sensors and remove our whole harness.
Now we do have a couple clips still holding our harness in. So we'll go ahead and grab our clip removal tool again and pop these out. We can go ahead, pull our harness out. So now we've got our new bumper up on the table here, and we're gonna go ahead and install all of our fill panels and covers and get everything ready to go ahead and install it onto the vehicle. So we're gonna start with this cover here where our adaptive cruise control module should go. Our vehicle is not equipped with that, so we're gonna go ahead and just install the cover. So we're gonna go ahead and put our cover on the front side of our mounting point here. Then we're gonna grab our provided combo bolts. Go ahead and slide those through the front side. And we'll grab our provided flange nuts for the back side here. And go ahead and install all 4 of those. So now we'll go ahead and grab our provided Allen wrench along with a 10mm socket on our ratchet and go ahead and tighten these down. Now remember, you are tightening onto a plastic cover. You do not need to over tighten these. Good and snug will be enough. Now we're going to go ahead and install our mesh insert panels here. So what we're going to do is grab our provided Allen head bolts, lock washers and flat washers. Go ahead and insert our panel like so. Go ahead and install our bolts on each side. It's going to hold that in place. And we're going to grab our flat washers and nuts for the other side. Go ahead and get those on. We'll get those both hand tight and then we'll come back and tighten them down. And you want to make sure your panel is pretty much lined up here once we get them hand tight. So now we can go ahead and tighten these down using our 10mm socket on our ratchet and our provided Allen wrench. Now this one is a little bit tricky, but if you fish your socket back behind this bracket, get in there quite nicely. Now once we have this one tight, we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So now we're going to go ahead and install our center mesh insert. So what we're going to need to do is grab our provided L brackets here. We're going to mount those 2 brackets on the provided slots here, and then go ahead and mount the mesh insert to those brackets and line it up with our opening on our bumper. So we'll go ahead and get our L brackets in place. We're going to grab our provided 13mm bolt, lock washer and flat washer. We're going to send that up underneath into our bracket just because it's a lot easier to get your washer and nut on if you do this from the underneath to the top here. So we'll add our other flat washer along with our nut. And we'll just leave that hand tight for now, and then we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other bracket. Now once we have those in and hand tight, we can go ahead and set our mesh insert in. Gonna make sure we have the proper spacing for our L brackets, like so. Make sure it's lined up with our opening. Then we're gonna take 2 more of our provided 13 mil bolts, lock washers and flat washers. We're gonna send that through our mesh insert bracket onto the L bracket we just installed. Just like so. It's okay if it moves for now. We're gonna recenter that. Then we're gonna take another flat washer along with another nut. Go ahead and get that on. And we'll do the same thing for the other bracket. So now we're going to tighten our mesh insert to our L brackets first, just to make sure those are nice and snug up against our insert. So we're going to grab our 13 mil socket on our ratchet and a 13 mil wrench to do so. We'll do the same thing for the other side. Then you want to make sure your insert is centered and where you want it and flush up against the opening of your bumper. It's going to give it the best look. Then we'll go ahead and tighten down our 2 bolts holding our L brackets onto our bumper with the same socket and 13 mil wrench. So next we're going to go ahead and install our nudge bar. So we're going to go ahead and get that into place, and there are 2 mounting holes on each side that are going to line up with our mounting plates on our bar. Then we're going to use our provided Allen head bolts, lock washers and flat washers, go through the top with those, and then put our 13 mil flange nuts on the bottom. We'll go ahead and hold this in place. So we'll go ahead and install our bolts to the top side. We'll get both of those in. We'll go ahead and install our flange nuts on the bottom side here. Then we'll go ahead and get the other 2 installed, and then we'll come back and tighten them down. So now we're going to grab our provided Allen wrench and our 13 mil socket with a small extension on our ratchet and go ahead and tighten these up. Then we'll do the same thing for the other side. Now we can go ahead and install our front license plate mounting bracket. So with the bumper facing up and forward, it's going to go on the front of it, and you want it to be facing like so, with the slanted mounting side going to be flush on the front of the bumper so that your tag part comes out straight up and down. So we'll go ahead and get that in place with the 2 mounting holes, grab our provided Allen head bolts, lock washers and flat washers, get those through. Then on the back side we'll add flat washers and 10 millimeter nuts. So we'll go ahead and add our flat washer, 10 mil nut to each mounting bolt. Get this first one hand tight. And we can go ahead and do our other one. Now we're going to grab our provided Allen wrench and our 10 mil socket on our ratchet and go ahead and tighten these down. So now we're going to go ahead and get our parking sensor harness installed. But first we're going to need to remove the factory rubber grommets that are on the parking sensors themselves.
and replace them with the provided grommets that stick on. So we'll go ahead and pop these off. They'll simply come right off like that. We'll pop the center piece out of our provided one here. Go ahead and remove the adhesive cover, just like so. And we're going to place this right on our sensor where our other one came off. Stick that right to it. Then we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other 3 sensors. So now we're going to get our harness routed into our bumper and get our sensors installed. So we're going to grab this end that's going to be our connector end on that side. We're going to send it through. There is an access hole right here. Go ahead and get that through. You want to be very careful not to damage your sensors during this process. So we're going to go ahead and install our sensor here into our mount. Now it's the same way as the factory one, it just clips in with the 2 little prongs here. So we'll go ahead and get that clipped in. So once we have our sensor in, we can install our provided sensor cap spacer. So we'll remove that cover off the adhesive backing. We'll go ahead and stick that right on top of the sensor, like so. And once that's on, we'll go ahead and install our provided retainer cap. Just right onto those prongs. It snaps into place. And then we'll do that for the other 3 sensors as well. And now we can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Now we can go ahead and install our mounting bolt plates. So we have a double one for our inner 2 mounting holes, and then we'll have a single one for this one, as well as the same thing on the other side. So we're going to grab our plastic retainer washers, go ahead and slide our bolt plate through, and we'll go ahead and install these washers. Now these are just simply to hold our bolt plates in place, kind of make it easier to install the bumper itself. Get those on, get our single plate on. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So now that we have our bumper prepped, we're going to come back to the frame horns on our vehicle, and there's a couple things we need to do just as a final step to get ready to install our bumper. So these have factory bolt plates behind them, which we're going to have to remove and install our new brackets to get ready for the bumper. So what we're going to do is reach behind here, and there should be some plastic hand nuts that you can just twist right off. I know it's not really great to see it, but if you reach back in there in the middle on each side, there should be one. We'll just go ahead and remove that. And they'll look like this. They're little plastic wing nuts. Again, they're just hand tight. You can easily get them off with your hand. So we'll go ahead. Our other one has already been removed. We'll go ahead and pull these factory bolt plates off. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, then we can install our brackets. So now we're going to grab our inner and outer brackets along with our through bolts, lock washer, and flat washer for each side. Now these will be stamped with a P or a D, that's passenger or driver. So we're on the passenger side. So we've got our 2 stamped with our P. Then we're going to go ahead and insert our inner one, line it up with our mounting holes, get our outer one set, and then set our through bolt into our brackets here through our frame.
So to make things a little bit easier, it is going to be a little bit difficult to get these inner brackets in. We're going to go ahead and loosen up the front 2 bolts for our splash guard and drop that down. That's going to give us enough clearance to go ahead and get our brackets on. We don't have to fully remove this, just have to drop this front down a bit. So we'll grab our 15 mil socket on our impact and go ahead and loosen up these front bolts. And we'll go ahead, loosen our rears just a hair. So now we can go ahead and install our brackets. So for our inner one, we want our bend to be facing like this so it sits flush with the inside of our frame. And we have our through hole for our through bolt. So we'll go ahead, put that in here. Up and in position like so. And we'll get our outer one on as well. Same deal. We want the bend to be facing in towards the frame. Line our mounting hole up. Then we're going to send our through bolt through the side of our frame. It's a very lined up hole, easy to see. Into our first one. Go ahead and get that in through both sides. Then on the back side of our through bolt, we'll go ahead and add a flat washer and our provided nut. So now we'll go ahead and add our flat washer and nut, and we're just going to keep this hand tight for now. And we can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So now to make things a little bit easier for everybody, we're going to go ahead and fully remove our splash guard. So we've already got the other bolt fully out. This other one is loose here. So we're just going to go ahead and pop that right out. Then you don't need to fully remove your rear bolts. We just loosened them earlier, and this will just slide right out. So now lastly, before we go ahead and install our bumper, we are going to go ahead and remove our front crash bars. Just going to give us a little bit more room to work with, kind of make things a little more simple. So we'll grab our 15 mil swivel socket on our ratchet, go ahead and pop these off real quick. Then we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So now we're ready to go ahead and get our bumper installed onto the vehicle. Now, if you're doing this at home on the ground, I highly suggest you get a second set of hands, a buddy to help you out. This bumper is kind of heavy and cumbersome, so you definitely want some extra help just to prevent it falling or you getting injured or anything like that. However, we are on the lift. We've got the table in front of here. We've got the vehicle and these bolt plates lined up, so we're going to go ahead and slide those on and get our lock washers, flat washers, and provided nuts on the back side of those bolt plates and get everything secure. We'll get it lined up, then we'll get it tightened down. So we've got one on this side that's going to hold it in place. We'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side, and then we can go ahead and get the rest of them on. So now that we have our hardware in place, we're going to go ahead and tighten it down with our 16 mil socket on our ratchet. We're going to make sure it's lined up how we want. And then once we get it tightened down, just because it's safer on the table like this, we'll go ahead and put it up and show you what it looks like after we're done. So now that we have our hardware for our frame mounts tightened down, we'll go ahead and tighten down our through bolt with our 16 mil socket and our 16 mil wrench.
And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So for reference, this is what your mounting hardware should look like when it's tightened down. Again, these are 18mm nuts, so you'll need an 18mm socket on your ratchet for these, and 16 for your through bolts. So now we can go ahead and plug our parking sensor harness back in. So we'll grab our harness side and our vehicle side connector. Go ahead and plug that back in. So now we can go ahead and reinstall our splash guard. So we'll get our rear mounting points lined up with our bolts that are still on there. Get our two front bolts back in and tighten them back down with our 15mm socket on our impact. So now we'll go ahead and pop in our threaded squares for if you want to mount a front tag or need to, depending on the state you live in. Go ahead and pop these right in. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our Barricade HD plate style full width front bumper for your 21 current Bronco, excluding the Raptor. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Bronco, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.